Thank you for listening to my daddy's podcast.
Hey, don't let these tears fool you. There's all dog around this mug. I'm good.
Hey, what's going on, Who Dat Nation? It is yours truly, Timothy J. Jones. And yes, I am the host of the State of the Saints podcast. And thank you so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. Hope everyone had a good weekend. And I want to say to all the fathers out there, happy belated Father's Day. I hope you had a good Father's Day. Being a father, I know that I can speak for myself it's a great honor, to have kids and, be able to take care of them and being in their life. I mean, you shouldn't take that for granted. And, my wife and my son, they took me out to brunch on Father's Day, and I became overcome with emotion, man. I mean, just looking at the fact that, how much I love them and how much they value me, it was extremely overwhelming. But I just want to say to all you once again, hope you had a good Father's Day. Hope everybody had a good weekend, really good weekend. It was Juneteenth weekend. Some people had Juneteenth festivities. I know that there was some activities that we had for the radio station. So that was exciting. It was hot, but still. But thank you so much for choosing the State of the Saints podcast for your listening and your viewing pleasure. I really do appreciate it. On this edition, we're going to be talking a little bit about the Saints offense. And, are you excited about the Saints offense? Are you excited about all the things that you're hearing about the Saints offense? There are several individuals that have been talking about this. Got opportunity to check out some different Saints programming. And, I had to wonder to myself, like, were people like really excited about the Saints offense or the Saints 2024 season? So this is a Q&A edition. We know how it goes, man. I mean, this is kind of that dead air type thing going on when, mini camp, OTAs and all that stuff is done. And then the next thing you have is training camp, but that's at the end of July. So that's when football is going to start to perk up a little bit, and stories are going to be coming by the boatloads. But right now, you basically are just asking questions and doing podcasts and writing articles based on some of the things that you are anticipating or some of the things that you've seen. So I'm taking this opportunity to, open up the floor to members of the Who Dat Nation to ask their questions about the New Orleans Saints. We're also going to be talking about, Alvin Kamara's contract. And, if the Saints can't get a contract reached with Alvin Kamara, what can the Saints do to compensate for the loss of Alvin Kamara, if that's the case? That we're going to be talking about that also. So shouts out to everybody in the chat right now. I ask that you hit the like button for those that are just tuning in, that are filing in right now. I ask that you go ahead and hit that like button. Shouts out to everybody. If you're new to the channel and you don't know how to, interact with the show, we're very interactive. All you have to do is put those comments in the chat.
Hey, what's going on? It's TJ Jones, the host of the State of the Saints podcast, and we're about to do what it do, baby. You probably have something to say about the black and gold that's burning hard in your soul. Take those fingers, give them the working. Put them comments in the chat.
Put those comments, put them in the chat.
All you gotta do is go ahead and put them things in the chat.
I wanna hear what you gotta say.
I wanna hear from you.
Talk to me and not so bad.
Oh, you ain't gotta worry about it. All you gotta do is talk to me. I talk back to you now.
Put those comments, put them in the chat.
All you gotta do is put them comments in the chat.
I want to hear what you got to say.
I want to hear from you.
Talk to me and I'll talk back.
Talk to me. I guarantee you, I'm going to talk right back to you.
Hit that Chris Tucker. Shouts out to all of the people that's out there right now. All you got to do is put those comments in the chat. And all those that can't make it, but probably checking out the show after it goes live, shouts out to them after show boys.
Shouts out, shouts out, shouts out, shouts out, shouts out to them after show boys. Shouts out, shouts out, shouts out, shouts out, shouts out to them after show boys. They be tweeting and be posting, they be tweeting and be posting, they be tweeting. Yeah, them after show boys, they be tweeting and be posting, they be tweeting and be posting, they be tweeting. Yeah, them after show boys.
Shouts out to all the after show boys, after show girls out there. Really do appreciate you. But let's go ahead and get into it. Talk a little bit about the Saints offense. Now, I mentioned that, there are several articles that have been written, several shows that have been done in regards to the Saints offense. And, there's a lot of different things that are changing under new offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak. Of course, we know about the Y zone. That's what we're all excited about. We're wondering what the heck is that going to look like? What the Y zone going to look like? What are we going to do? All this type of stuff, right? It generates some excitement, especially when you look at some of the reports, some of the shows that are coming out. People are excited about what this offense can look like. Me personally, I do feel like you needed to go in a different direction versus what you've been for the last 16, 17 years, running that West Coast offense, building it in the image of Drew Brees. Now, Drew Brees has been removed from the Saints since the end of 2020. So you have to go in like a different direction. And, you got to focus on who you have now. I believe in moments of time when things are at their apex, when things are at their height. I mean, we enjoy it. It feels good to us, right? Having that opportunity, watching New Orleans Saints teams play, knowing that they're going to win, know that they're going to dominate offensively, knowing that we had the confidence to go at any other fan base of any team around because we knew that offense was going to be on point. That was a great moment in time. But once again, that was a moment. Moments have a tendency of changing. And yes, those moments may give us good feelings, but sometimes we have to understand that those feelings got to go away from time to time. There's always like a show that you probably you can think about a show you used to watch back in the day, right? A show that came on television and you used to sit down anticipating it, waiting for it to come on. And it was so exciting to you, right? But now as a grown person, as an older person, you don't, it's gone, right? You get the reruns and stuff like that, but you know what's going to happen. You basically can recite those words of that show word for word, right? It's like Martin, like the CD player episode, when Bruh Man walked through the window. Oh, I almost forgot. Thanks for letting me borrow your CD player. It was all that. Yeah, I can repeat that, right? But when I watched it for the first time, I thought it was the funniest thing ever. But back to the football. I mean, the Saints offense was great during that time, but it's time to move on. And yes, I am excited and anticipating what that offense is actually going to look like. But at the end of the day, I got to see it for real for me to really start to get some levels of excitement. I just think that Saints fans at this point have a wait and see approach. And no matter what comes out, no matter what type of excitement, you got your Ross Jacksons, your Nick Underhills, your John Hendricks, shouts out to those guys. No matter what they come up with, Matt Moscona, all these different people that you listen to and they bring people on or they have this certain perspective about things, you still have a wait and see approach about what this team is going to be in 2024. And I just think that is fair. And I also think that people have to understand that some Saints fans are going to be excited about this team regardless. And I think some of the fans out there that are extremely excited, they they kind of just throw year after year away if it doesn't pan out. Like last year didn't work out. I'm not going to tie this year into last year. That's fine. But you can't expect a person to get their heart broken time after time, expect for them to just be ready to jump back into that new relationship. Like they kind of take baby steps when it comes to it. I believe in this New Orleans Saints team. I think that they have the talent in order for them to win some football games. I do think that they have the talent to exceed some of the expectations that are set out for them right now based on what prognosticators, onlookers are thinking about them. But it doesn't matter. What matters is what they do in the regular season, right? All these different people that's performing well, all this different motion that you see in, all this dazed and confused of the defense, and people all excited about that. Until it actually happens in a real game that matters, I don't think people are really going to get excited about it. But I think as time goes on, and if the offense is clicking, the team is gelling, they're beating teams that people thought they wouldn't beat, that's when I feel like fans are going to start to get excited about this football team. But, I can understand why people would be, because some Saints fans feel like all they needed was to change this offense. Having Pete Carmichael as your offensive coordinator was not a good thing. Not to say that Pete Carmichael isn't a good offensive mind. Some people aren't good with the ebbs and flows of a football game. Like I said, I normally compare Pete Carmichael to Jonah Hill's character in the movie Moneyball. Jonah Hill was the analytics guy, right, for the Oakland A's, and Brad Pitt was the general manager. And, Jonah Hill was behind the scenes, but Jonah Hill was very instrumental at putting the team together, right? He was the one that was telling you, go out here and get this guy because his batting average was this, the ERA was this as a pitcher, like all these different things, right? So you need those behind the scenes guys, but everybody can't be a GM because everybody can't have those tough conversations with the players. They can't give them that tough love. Sometimes people have their roles. And I don't think it's a coincidence that, Pete Carmichael was with Sean Payton all those years, and there were very few interviews that were asked of him, because I think that people understand who he is and what he is. And I think Pete Carmichael understands what he is. That's why I feel like there was he was hesitant when it came to him wanting to be the offensive coordinator and call plays in the first place. I think that he kind of knew what his role was. I think he understood that, but he was willing to go out there and do it for the team. But I just think that now, looking at Clint Kubiak, the way that he operates, the way that he conducts himself, I think that this is what is needed. And also, when you bring in a new regime, a new coaching staff, everybody's pretty much on the same playing field, because that coordinator, that coach doesn't really know those players like that. They know the talent that they possess, but at the same time, they were not responsible for bringing that person in. They were not responsible for any type of success or lack of success said player had in the past. So everybody's kind of like on an equal playing field, and they got to prove to that offensive coordinator that they're worth the reps, that they're worth being on the field. So with that being said, I am excited about what this offense can look like, but I'm not excited to a point where I'm just going to say it's just going to take the world by storm, because it still has to go out here and play itself out. But I would love to hear from you. I ask that you put your comments in the chat. What do you all think about the Saints offense? Are you excited about this new Saints offense? And also, you can ask me any questions. This is a Saints Q&A edition of the State of the Saints podcast. So it's rapid fire. Anything that you want to ask me, feel free to ask me about the New Orleans Saints. We'll get into Alvin Kamara and his contract in just a minute and what the Saints can possibly do if things go awry in that regard. But let me go ahead and read some of your comments. I'll stroll back up just a little bit. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for those that put the comments in the chat. Let's see. Thomas says kind of late, but I made the live TJ Who Dat family. Well, Thomas, thank you for being here. I really do appreciate that, man. I thank you for being here. and everybody else. You could be doing something else with your time. I completely understand that. So thank you for stopping by. Says if they can't get Kamara contract done, bring in Latavius Murray. Yeah, Latavius Murray would be, a good addition. Look, I like Latavius Murray a lot. Everywhere Latavius Murray goes, he is productive. He was productive in Buffalo his last stop. He was productive in New Orleans. He was productive in Minnesota. He was productive with the Raiders. I just never understood why Latavius Murray couldn't maintain a job. I just couldn't. Every time he touches the ball, if something positive happens, maybe because he's not with the flash and dash, he's more of a one cut, but he makes really good decisions. He's like a poor man's Le'Veon Bell, in my opinion. He's very patient. He waits for the holes to open up for him to run through, and he's so tall. I never really see him lose yards like that. It's always a 1 or a 2 yard gain. So I like Latavius Murray. I think he did a really good job for the Saints. And he also proved that he can catch the ball out of backfield when he was with the team too. And that kind of added to his repertoire. Jared says, bro, man, upstairs, fifth floor. Right. Laughing my behind off, bro, man, from the fifth floor. Yeah, I mean, y'all know how it is. When you watch those nostalgic shows on television, like the Martins, like the Sanford and Sons, like the Living Singles, shows that you have seen the same episodes over and over again. It gives you good feelings, right? It gives you good feelings, but you can't go back and be sitting on your grandmother's floor in my case, or your mom's floor, or your dad's floor anymore, right? You're a grown person, right? You're watching this, and nostalgia does, reign supreme, but you can't have that back. And it's the same way with the Saints offense. When you can memorize it word for word, I know that this offense is so passe. I guarantee you the majority of the people that are watching this right now or listening to this, if the Saints put a certain type of personnel on the field, you already know what was about to happen. That's how long they had this offense. When I used to see, the Saints come in, I see Michael Thomas lined up to the left. I see, Traquan lined up to the right. And I see Tavares Cadet or something like that coming about the backfield. What you think about that happening? It's about to be a screen pass to Tavares Cadet. You know what I'm saying? You kind of understood, okay, that's what's about to happen. They about to dump the ball off to Tavares Cadet. Okay, Alvin isn't in the game. Mark isn't in the game, and Tavares is in the game. What is he in the game for? It's not going to be play action. It's probably going to be a screen off to Tavares Cadet. Let's go back a little bit further. When you see Robert Meacham on the outside, or Devin Henderson on the outside, what do you think is about to happen? And you see Mark Ingram in the backfield on a third down. Play action pass, probably going to be a deep pass down the field to Robert Meacham. Or if it's a 3rd and 1 or something like that, probably a wide receiver screen to Robert Meacham. I mean, it's when you see these plays so many times over the years, it's you already know what's about to happen 9 times out of 10. You can kind of see based on the personnel that's in the game at the time of the play. Now, sometimes it may not happen that way, but the majority of the time it will. So, I just think that it's just time for a change. And I think we all can agree to that. If you expect disappointment, you'll never be disappointed. Well, Mike, yeah, that's a good way of looking at things. But, some people like to be optimistic. There are certain things in life, Mike, you have to come in with a certain level of confidence. But I will say this. If you turn the owl on the stove on and it burn your hand, eventually, if you put it back on there again, it's going to burn your hand again. You're not going to keep on putting your hand on the owl of the stove when the flame is on, right? Because you know that your hand is going to get burnt. It's just this careful caution. Or if you're trying to put a pot on the stove, I guess this would be a better example. If you put a pot on the stove and then all of a sudden, you're doing it too fast and and it burn you, you're going to kind of gradually or be mindful of putting that pot on the stove the next time you do that. It's not that Saints fans don't want this team to cook, so to speak. They just gradually are putting that pot on the stove. Like you got to give people something to be excited about. And we know how the beginning of the seasons start. Every single year, we see the same teams, fan bases always talking about this our year, this our year, this our year, only to set themselves up to more disappointments. I, for one, am not one of those individuals that feel that you have to say my team is going to win. My team is going to win every single freaking year. And that means that I'm a true fan. And if you don't feel like this, you just not as real as me. I don't believe that. I feel like a person that has a careful eye is the same as a person that comes in that is instantly optimistic. Because at the end of the day, the end game is the team being successful on both fronts. So there's this saying, there's several ways. I'll just say several ways to cook a dinner. There's different ways of doing it. But, I can understand why people are kind of reluctant to embrace this. There are a lot of question marks. But what absolved this is winning. I continue to say that. I think the first 3 games will tell the story of the offense. I disagree with that. I disagree with that, Rico, because here's the thing. And, I'm not comparing Tom Brady to Derek Carr here. But if you think about when Tom Brady first joined Tampa, like the Saints pretty much dominated that game in the first game that they played, right? And if you looked at Tampa, like they had like a lot of issues. Like I want to say they lost to the Bears. Like the Bears were pretty bad. And then all of a sudden they had that bye week and then they won like 7 straight games. And, like sometimes your offense might start off a little bit slow or your game plan might start off a little slow. But as time goes on, chemistry starts to develop. Those later practices start to happen. Guys staying after practice to work alongside Tom, work alongside, some of the, other players, staying a little bit later to work on at their positions to get better. And then the next thing you're clicking on all cylinders. I don't want to say the first 3 games are going to be a defining moment for the team. I think that they need to hit the ground running because you don't want to start off 1-4 or something like that. But I don't think that if they go out there and the offense is looking stale as some potato chips left open for 24 hours, I don't think that it's a deal breaker because we see teams all the time start off a little slow. Like, for example, week 1 of the NFL season last year, Kansas City played against the Detroit Lions in Arrowhead, right? It was the first game of the season. They just, unveiled the new Super Bowl banner, and Detroit went in there and beat them in week 1. And some people probably would have thought if you were looking at that game like, man, maybe Kansas City, this might be the year that they fall off. And look at them. At the end of the season, they were hoisting another Lombardi trophy, back-to-back champs. So we can't always look at what happens early in the season to tell a story because teams start to get hot. Teams' chemistry starts to develop, and they start to rack off, several other several games, so I don't want to say the 3 games are going to start it off because, it's going to tell a story because, like I said, this is a new offense, so it might take some time for it to figure it out. It's hard for me to invest my precious time in the football season after my Baltimore Ravens got cheated in the NFC Championship. I don't know about that, Jews. I don't know about them getting cheated. I watched that game, and there were several opportunities in which they could have won. That Zay Flowers fumble, that was the killer for me. If you looked at that game, it was almost like 2 heavyweights who have power in both hands. And if you get that one hit quit on the other, you're going to sleep. And that's kind of what it was. It was whoever made the first mistake was going to lose. And Baltimore made that first mistake. Zay Flowers, to me, I think that if he didn't try to lunge for the end zone, you still would have got the first down, still would have had 3-4 cracks at it. I don't know. There was a lot of mistakes in that game, and that cost them. I can't say that they got cheated because it was like both teams were playing to not make mistakes. They realized that whoever made the first mistake was going to lose. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers in the chat and who that to all. Ronnie, Same to you if you have kids. I'm not sure if you do, man, but happy Father's Day, yeah, indeed, to all the fathers in there. I'm boycotting the NFL right now. I wouldn't do that, Jules. Like I said, I just think that Baltimore just made a few more mistakes than Kansas City did. The Saints, what happens. Yeah, that's a good way of approaching it, and that's the way I feel about it. But as when I'm watching games, I try to be as optimistic. I try to remove my fandom in certain ways, but there are some cases I just can't help it because I'm from the city and I grew up as a fan. But I'm trying to transition to being more of a sports personality. So I gotta kind of be even keel when it comes to it. But it's so hard, especially when you love a team as much as I love the Saints. Hey, I'm not an after show boy today. Let's get it, says Cameron. Well, shouts out to you, Cam, but I just appreciate you checking out the show whenever you check it out. Mike Bell was underrated with us. Yeah, Mike Bell was underrated. He was more of the smash mouth 1 yard guy for the New Orleans Saints. He always was talented. He always was talented. Eager to see the improvements in the offense and to see if DA has grown into some sort of ability to improvise and make adjustments in key moments. I think that's the key, Timer. I think that is the one thing that will put the Saints over the hump. If Dennis Allen can be able to understand the ebbs and flows of the game and be able to make necessary adjustments when needed. I think that adding an offense that has worked in the National Football League and has shown to work in the National Football League is a plus. But there are going to be some games where that's not going to matter. And it's going to be the battle of wits between him and the opposing head coach. And the question is, will he be able to come out on top? We'll see. Will we have balance? Well, shouts out to my cousin, Gifford, yeah. But I think that they will have balance. I think that with this wide zone that they're running offensively, I think that you're putting more emphasis on the run. It's pretty much apparent that that's going to happen. Every coach that we hear speaks to the media talks about putting an emphasis on the run. Also, you're looking at you didn't go back and try to find the same guys or the ones that were built in that same type of pass protection type image that they've been having all throughout the years. You're getting more athletic offensive linemen. So I think you're going to see more emphasis on the run to set up the play action pass. And you're also going to see more guys probably getting yards after the catch because, once again, those wide zones, they open up certain lanes for these guys in order for them to be able to make plays. But I also feel like the wide receivers have to get a little bit stronger as well. I'm pretty sure that's probably what they're doing. We heard about Chris Olave adding on 7 pounds of muscle. They understand that in this offense, it's going to have to rely on you getting those yards after the catch. So I feel like there's going to be a balance, but I think there's going to be a emphasis on the running game to set up the play action. Happy belated Father's Day. Pewter, the Red Podcast says, Murray, why does it seem like you guys are always scared of bringing in something new or something fresh or starting fresh? Well, Pewter, I don't know if it's about starting fresh or anything like that. I think it's more so about going for things that actually has proven that it works. And I can understand why people would say with Latavius Murray, because Latavius Murray kind of fits that mold of the wide zone. And then on top of that, it wasn't that Latavius Murray was washed or terrible to a point where he's no longer with the Saints. They just decided not to bring him back. So I don't think is anything about anybody afraid of change. There are some. I'm not going to defend everybody. There are some people that are afraid to embrace something new. So they try to sweat to the oldest, so to speak. And I've been very hypercritical about the Saints doing that. But when you change around the entire coaching staff and you offensively and defensively, and you also just look in the mirror and say what we've been doing all these years isn't working, I think you have to give them the benefit of the doubt. But I like Latavius Murray. I think Latavius Murray has worked everywhere he's went. I think it's easier to making excuse for Latavius Murray coming back than some of these other running backs that have not, really panned out anywhere. And you can really tell that they're a shell of themselves. But Latavius Murray, every time he gets an opportunity, I mean, I watched him in several games in Buffalo. I watched him when he was with Minnesota, of course, with the Saints and also with the Raiders. I mean, he's always been a really solid running back. But yeah, I mean, if you can try to get something new and fresh and something that you can bring in that can help you, I don't care if he doesn't have a name or not. I mean, how does a guy get a name? An opportunity. You give him opportunity, everybody will know his name if he takes advantage of it. But can this offense work without AK? That leads me to my next point. Thank you very much, Rico. Can this offense work without Alvin Kamara? Okay, here it is. Okay, well, we all know about Alvin Kamara deciding to dip out of practice on the final day of minicamp, having a little contract dispute. We know that would he get about $10.8 million this season, only guarantee $1 million, has that $20+ million salary next year, but is more of a phantom. None of that money is guaranteed. He wants a new contract, right? He wants a new contract, and it's well within his rights. Y'all know how I stand. And if you watched me on Bleacher Report Friday, and I encourage everybody to check that out, download the Bleacher Report app and check me out, Sports Talk with Timothy J. Jones. But I mentioned it. I would never get mad at a player for wanting money. And I would never get upset at a player when I know the reason why he hasn't been productive is because the team has not put him in the best position. Look, all these Saints fans out here that's criticizing Alvin Kamara, please, pretty please, think about what you're saying. I'm not going to go at you, but I'm just asking you to think about what you are saying. Think about how many shows you done roll up on and fell into the comments or called in, and you've been very upset with this offense and the way this offense has been structured and the way this offense has been running. And P. Carmichael don't know how to call plays and all these different things that you have said. And then you turn around and say Alvin Kamara hasn't been productive. You got to ask yourself this question. Why hasn't he been productive? How many screen plays have you seen? How many angle routes have you seen him running? How many wheel routes have you seen him running? How many different stretch plays have you seen him running? Like it used to be when Sean Payton was the coach. You haven't seen it. It is hard for me to sit up here and evaluate a guy who is not the same guy, and the offense is not structured the same way when he has found success. It is hard for me to criticize him when I know that the team isn't doing what's in his best interest. Don't fall into that Christian McCaffrey narrative. You had a lot of people that thought that Christian McCaffrey was about to fall off the face of the earth because if you look at Carolina towards the last couple of years he was there, his production wasn't there. He was hurt constantly, and they were not putting him in the best position to succeed. And then all of a sudden he gets traded to the San Francisco 49ers, and he just was the offensive player of the year and a current Madden cover boy. So you can't always just look at it like, oh, man, this dude done fell off. To me, that is Saints fans trying to convince themselves that they don't need Kamara. The New Orleans Saints need Alvin Kamara because if you know how the wide zone is structured, the wide zone really consists of optional running routes. You know what I'm saying? Like optional runs. Like, for example, like you basically, like the way that it's structured, it gives almost like the running back like 2 or 3 different options to run. Like, okay, if Fuaga, pushes, his defensive lineman back and then he gets to the next level, or you got Nick Saldiveri, that goes up there and he just completely eliminates the linebacker at the second level. Like this gives Alvin Kamara, he got a choice, right? He can run to the outside, or he can run to the inside, or it's a lot of options. And why I feel like the fact that it can actually work with Alvin because Alvin's so freaking smart. Like Alvin, to me, I always compare him to that guy on the movie Premium Rush. He was a Telegram bike rider, right? And he was riding in the city of New York, and he would have like tunnel vision, like when they had like traffic jams or precarious situations that he had to get around. he will see it before it even happens. Like, I got to go around this taxi cab. I got to go around this truck right here. And then I got to turn right. Like, and that's the way that his mind works. And when you have like a football savant like him, like he is the straw that stirs the drink. There are not many running backs to me that you can actually bring in that will give you that level of production. Alvin Kamara can be that. And I think that if they get everything straight, Alvin Kamara will be in the running for Offensive Player of the Year. I am not one of those people that feel like he's washed. I am not one of those people that feel like, oh, he doesn't have it anymore. I think the main reason why some people are down on Alvin Kamara is because the Saints offensive staff let this man down over the last couple of years. And he's not the running back that he was because they're not making him the running back that he needs to be. And you have some fans that may feel that way, like, oh man, he ain't good enough anymore. Like, allow Alvin Kamara to go to a team like Miami. Allow him to go to a team, like Indianapolis or something like that, where offensive coaches really like put an emphasis on running the football and utilizing their running backs in the right way. And see, you're going to have a lot of Saints fans that's going to be mad at front office personnel because they let Alvin Kamara go. I'm telling you, this is not an Alvin Kamara problem. This is a team problem when it comes to them not putting him in the best position to succeed. So anybody that feels that Alvin Kamara isn't good enough, like, you're sadly mistaken. I will argue with anybody about that. I don't care about what the numbers are saying. I don't care about that. I don't care about the analytics. Because if you're going to pull up the analytics, you need to put up the analytics about what the Saints have been calling for Alvin Kamara from the time he came into the league to the time, Sean Payton left, and what is the production rate and what are the plays being called at that percentage now. I guarantee you it's not the same. So to me, I'm not buying that whole Alvin Kamara is washed thing, and I don't think you should either. But just for the sake of argument, let's just say that the New Orleans Saints don't bring in Alvin Kamara. Like, they can't reach a deal, and Alvin Kamara just at home, or they decide to trade Alvin. So how can you replace him? Like, so I'm looking at some of these guys that are available. This is sharp football analysis that I'm looking at. I'm going to go ahead and try to put this up on the screen and go ahead and share it so you all can see it as well. But this is a list of a few running backs that are available still. All right, let me go ahead and pull that up for you all, let you all see it. All right, so like I said, courtesy of Sharp Football Analysis, and we got the best remaining running backs. All right, so the best remaining running backs, you have Dalvin Cook, Cam Akers, you got Joshua Kelly, Latavius Murray, Kareem Hunt, Matt Breida, Jerick McKinnon, and you got Jacob Johnson, Kevin Smith, Melvin Gordon. I mean, so a few guys on the list that have made a name for themselves. I guess the top guys that you can probably look at would be Dalvin Cook, Cam Akers, and Kareem Hunt, right? We talked about Latavius Murray, so I'm going to just take his name out of it. Now, Dalvin Cook, you think about Dalvin Cook, if I can go ahead, just give me a second. Let me go ahead and pull up Dalvin Cook's information here. But Dalvin Cook has been doing it for a really long time. He's 28 years old right now. He had some really good years. He was drafted in the same draft class as Alvin back in 2017. He was a second-round pick coming out of Florida State. We know what he can do. He can run in between the tackles, catch the ball out of backfield. But Dalvin Cook has, throughout his career, he could have easily been one of the best running backs in football, but he cannot stay healthy. He had a little cup of coffee with the Dolphins last season. Didn't really do too much. They were kind of relying on some of these other running backs like Gus Edwards out there. Mitchell, before he got hurt, he was having a really good campaign there. J.K. Dobbins, he was injured, but so you had Dalvin Cook come in, but he didn't really provide too much, right? Also with the Jets, he was with them for a little while, couldn't really get on the field, so he was upset with that. So, can you bring in Dalvin Cook? Maybe, it'll help you out just a little bit. But, I don't think you want to go that route. You'll get some production, but is not going to be AK production. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. I will say this. I like Cam Akers a lot. I think that Cam Akers is a talented running back. I think that he has the age going for him. I'm not even looking at this. I actually kind of, very familiar with Cam Akers because during the time when he was in high school out there in Clinton, Mississippi, I mean, I was actually working out in Mississippi and living there at the time. So, I mean, everybody know about Cam Akers in Mississippi. I mean, he was one of the best running backs coming out of high school. He went to Florida State. Florida State had a lot of issues, coaching changes, all the other stuff. He decided to stay, be that leader. To me, that meant a lot because he could have easily went somewhere else when the coach left, but he decided to stay there. Got drafted by the Rams. Didn't really do too much like during the season in his rookie season, but when the Rams made the playoffs, that's when he really started to turn on. I like his age. I like his explosiveness. I like the fact that he can catch the ball out of backfield. He can run in between the tackles. And I think that you can get a lot out of Cam Akers. That would be a guy that I would be looking at. And, of course, Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt always is a solid running back, played really well for the Cleveland Browns. We know what he did with the Kansas City Chiefs when he was there. He was one of the best running backs in football. So, to me, Dalvin Cook, Cam Akers, and Kareem Hunt would be top guys for me, right? They would be the top guys that I feel like would be a part that would play like a very, very huge role if Alvin Kamara wasn't able to be signed back with the New Orleans Saints. But all this stuff is just hypothetical. I really just feel like the Saints are going to pay Alvin Kamara. It's a matter of how much. I don't think that the Saints want to give him a long-term deal. I don't feel like that, especially since Alvin is about, 28 or 29 years old. So I don't see them giving him a long-term deal, but I do think they will give him a respectable deal. Maybe it's to a point where, they give him, like a 3-year deal or something like that. And, if he does well on the on those 1 of those 2 years, you can actually renegotiate a deal. But I can't see him getting Alvin Kamara is going to play for the Saints like he did with Cam Jordan. I don't see that, right? But I do see maybe 2 or 3 years they can sign him to a deal with the New Orleans Saints. But let me go ahead and finish reading some of your comments, and feel free to ask, give me some comments and questions in regards to that. Who do you feel would be a good replacement? And also, I did mention Leonard Fournette as well. I feel like Leonard Fournette could add to the New Orleans Saints running back room also. His ability to catch the ball out of the backfield, being that power back, I think that, he can provide something with the New Orleans Saints as well. So I'll throw Leonard Fournette in there as well. Bro, I'm still healing from losing C.J. Gardner-Johnson, so if AK was to go, I need therapy. Well, that's just the nature of the business. Guys are going to get traded. Guys are going to get released. They may be fan favorites. I mean, as great as Mike T was, back in 2018, did you imagine that we would be in 2024 talking about Michael Thomas not being with the Saints? It's just the way that it goes sometimes. Teams got to do what's best for them, and players got to do what's best for them. Jared says, pay them, man. I agree that you need to pay them, but I'm pretty sure the Saints are looking at, they got a lot of guys that are up next. You got Chris Olave that's up next. You got Paulson Adebo that's up next. So you got some young players that you're going to have to pay. Rashid Shaheed, you're going to have to pay him. So question is, what are the Saints going to do? Is Derek Carr guaranteed the starting job this year? Absolutely. Like that's not even a debate. Like Derek Carr is the starting quarterback and will be the starting quarterback unless something happens to him. Kubiak will put AK in the right position to succeed. I agree with that. I don't think that's an argument either, Slim South. I think that it's just a matter of this man wanting his money, and I'm not mad at him. And if he sits at home because the Saints don't want to pay him, I'm not mad at that either. Facts, Slim. Yeah. Jules, yeah, he will start. Yeah. I don't think that's even an argument. They're going to put Derek Carr out there. Joshua Kelly would be a good option. He is a team player. Will do all what is asked of him. A good second, three type running back, a workhorse type, a little above average talent. Yeah, Joshua Kelly, if I'm not mistaken, and did he play for the Chargers? Right? If I'm not mistaken, I think he played for the Chargers. He's a talented guy. He's a talent from what I've seen. Let's see. What do you think we go to if Kubiak gets a head coaching position after this year? Do you think we look for a coach that teaches the same scheme or go a different direction? I think you go with the coach that teaches the same scheme. You know, if Clint Kubiak gets a head coaching job, then yeah, I think they're going to try to keep it the same way. So you're probably going to get another Kyle Shanahan disciple out there, you know, or, you know, you might, well, I can't say you get one of them other offensive coordinators because those guys are going to become head coaches like the Bobby Slowicks, like the Ben Johnsons, you know, guys like that going to get the opportunity. So, yeah, probably going to get somebody that's probably going to get somebody that's kind of, can teach that same type of offense. Is it an open competition for a starting quarterback out of curiosity? No, it's not. I like Joshua Kelly, TJ. I think, I already read that. I mean, like I said, if it's the same guy I'm thinking about who plays for the Chargers, yeah, he's pretty good. We good on Leonard, TJ. Why you say that, Derek? Let's see, TJ, I'm just joining, so you may have addressed this already. I'm thinking Miller has a shot to be a long-term answer. He showed some great plays at the end of last season. Look, that's a good point, and I was actually going to mention that after I read some of the comments. Look, I do feel like Kendre Miller can be the future of the New Orleans Saints. He has that type of ability. He has that type of talent. But, at this stage, you're kind of like wondering, could he be that, right? I feel like he is, but it's still one man's opinion. I do think that what the Saints are trying to do, Alvin Kamara suits it best right now. And you also have to look at the fact that jobs are on the line here, right? I mean, Dennis Allen's job is on the line. Like, you can't be around this thing like second guessing and trying to make this thing work. Like, this has to work this season, or more than likely he's going to be out of a job. And what gives you a better opportunity to keep your job if Alvin Kamara, number 41, is still your running back? Kendre Miller, to me, I definitely feel like he's going to break out this season. I think that he's going to have some magical moments as long as he stays healthy. I think that, he'll have a really good season. But Alvin Kamara is a special player. And how the Y zone is structured, I mean, to me, I feel like it is built perfectly for AK. Tim says, no after show boy today. Well, I appreciate you. I appreciate you for being here. If they don't get that line together, Carr will see a lot of other quarterbacks on the field. Yeah, hopefully they did. But it seems like the way that they're trying to run that offense, you're not going to see Derek Carr throwing 5 times a game like he once did. I'd be shocked if he does. And if he does do that, it's probably going to be because the Saints are behind. They have to throw themselves back into the game. They better not let Sean Payton get to them. Yeah, I mean, look, Sean Payton, he has that game checked on his schedule, just like the Saints got it checked on their schedule to play the Broncos. Hey, TJ, what do you think shows up more this year, Isaiah Foskey or Peyton Turner? Well, to me, I would have to say Isaiah Foskey. I think Isaiah Foskey has that talent, has that ability. I think when it comes to Peyton Turner, he is who he is. You've had this guy for several years. Fourth year, in the league. We still talking about the same stuff, bro. Like, we still talking about this man staying on the field. So Isaiah Foskey is a guy that has that really good burst. It's just a matter of him having to turn it on. So I think that you'll see something out of Foskey before you see something out of Turner. the stock on Turner is so low. If Peyton Turner gets 3 sacks this season, it's probably a plus. If Peyton Turner plays in 5 or 6 games this season, it's a plus. Like, because nobody is expecting Peyton Turner to do anything. You know, right now he's playing with house money. To do anything. Nobody's saying, man, I can't wait to see Peyton Turner play this season. No disrespect. I'm just telling the truth. Like, because, you know, the injuries have played a huge role in his career, but it's probably a good thing for him because the expectations are so low. Anything that he does is going to be a positive in the eyes of the Who Dat Nation and the team that more than likely going to sign him next year, because I don't think the Saints bringing him back. Yep, Kelly played for a few teams. As you know, TJ, the Chargers, he is not your number one guy, but he will give his all until better comes along. Yeah, I mean, look, that's probably be what you need. I mean, you got Kendra Miller, you got Jamal Williams. You know, you got these guys that have been with the team for a while. So, and not to mention, I mean, there's always a young running back that we probably don't even hear about, and then all of a sudden in preseason, everybody knows his name, right? So, I mean, you never know. But yeah, I've seen a few Charger games and I've seen him play. There have been times when Austin Eckler was injured and he's coming to the game and provided a little bit of a spark. So I wouldn't mind that. Leonard don't have the burst for wide zone or the feet anymore. Need to slim down. Well, I mean, I don't know. I think that Leonard Fournette, power back, short yardage situation, catching the ball, you know, out the backfield. Think he can probably bring something, you know, to the table. But I mean, I could be wrong. Miller can't stay healthy. Yeah, I think that a lot of the injuries day was because of what happened at TCU. The Saints knew about his ability and his talent, so they kind of just, you know, I won't say they took a flyer on him. That's why they drafted him. I mean, you don't take a flyer in a guy in the 3rd round. You know, to me, a flyer is like 5th, 6th, 7th round. So, I mean, he's a talented guy, and he was talented at TCU. And I just think that the injury, him coming out of TCU, and then when he gets to the league, I think that it took him some time in order for him to rehab that. And then he's on the field, and I think it's kind of re-aggravated something else. But what I seen in the last game of the season versus the Falcons was a positive. And there are some games where I've seen him make some plays. I want to say in the Green Bay Packer game earlier in the season, there was a wheel route that he ran. He caught a ball like a wide receiver. And that was a shock to a lot of people because if you watched him at TCU is a smash mouth football team. Like, there wasn't no screen passes that Max Duggan was throwing to him. Right. And so he's a much better pass catcher than people give him credit for. And he has way more elusivity. And he also has like I like him. 91 strong, watching 25 likes. Let's get our support, guys support, please. Got to press the like button. Yeah, please hit the like button if you're watching the show right now. What's good, my guy, TJ? Yeah, what's going on, Tim? Appreciate you for being here. Deborah says, cool. Alfred says, I like how Clint said we ain't doing that 2nd and 20 stuff this year. Well, hopefully you won't. And how you do that is you run the football. You know, you play a little bit more smash mouth. You put yourself into better situations to be able to convert on 3rd downs. I mean, it ain't rocket science. TJ, do you anticipate the Saints to trade a Saints player up for a new contract to give some cap relief? Heard a rumor of Cesar Ruiz might be in this discussion. Well, you got to do what's best for the team. And if you feel like trading Cesar Ruiz would help you to be in a better position than what you're in right now, then I say do it. I mean, look, this is a business at the end of the day. I keep saying this. Like, you can't have your emotions so tied up to a player that you can't see the forest through the trees here. Like, you got to be able to understand the long-term game of this, right? Cesar Ruiz is, you know, to me, a talented offensive lineman, like him or not. You know, people have a lot of positive reviews on Cesar Ruiz. So to me, with that, he'll get opportunities. Even if the New Orleans Saints, like, let's just say if the New Orleans Saints were to get rid of Cesar Ruiz a year or two down the line, like, he'll get picked up somewhere. So I'm going to say Cesar Ruiz probably going to be in the NFL 9-10 years of his career. But after that, it's like the wheels keep turning. Like, you still got to play Saints football. The Saints still got to be a competitor. They still got to compete for a championship, right? So you can't just look at a player and be like, man, I like him. You know, man, he a good guy. He signed my autograph. He signed my paper. He signed my hat. He signed my towel. You know, I mean, I like him a lot. I mean, there's several people, you know, that I like. I have autographs of several Saints players throughout my lifetime. But when it comes down to it, you got to do what's best for business. You know, somebody, if you own a restaurant and they telling you, okay, man, this stove that you have right here, you know, it's costing you too much money to repair it. You know, what you going to do? Like, you going to keep on repairing it? Or you going to try to get a new stove where you don't have to, you know, repair this stove all the time and costing yourself money? You know, like, you got to make business decisions. And you can't just look at it like, oh, man, I done cook some of my best ribs on this stove. Man, I done cook some of my best pasta on this stove. Like, it probably was some of your best pasta. It probably was one of your best meals. But guess what? If it's costing you money, or you can be a better establishment because of it, or you can do some more things because you sacrifice getting rid of this stove, then it is what it is. And I'm not comparing Cesar Ruiz to a stove. I'm just using this as an example. You got to do what's best for the team. It's always going to play a role. Like, you don't want to see a guy out on the street, like, especially like if they've been loyal and dedicated to you for years. But if they're as talented as you know they are, they're not going to be on the street for long. And you just do what's best for you. Rather it's give you some better draft capital, or if it's you know, a player or whatever you can do, or setting yourself up for the long term. I mean, I give a prime example. Let's look at the Dallas Cowboys. We don't like them, but they did what they needed to do. When they hired Jimmy Johnson his first season, they were not very good, right? Troy Aikman first season, they looked terrible. But, you know, they traded away Herschel Walker to the Minnesota Vikings, and they did all these different things, and they brought in Emmitt Smith, and they got Michael Irvin, and, you know, you got all these other guys, you know, rest in peace to Larry Allen, and they turned themselves into a dynasty. You know, people thought they were crazy at the time. Like, man, are you out your freaking mind? But to be a contender down the road. Got to think about Taysom as well. I think they are really going to use him as a running back, fullback, like they should have been. Well, Cam, I think they will use him that way. And shouts out to Taysom Hill. Look, Taysom Hill restructured his deal again, saving the Saints. I want to say maybe like $8 million or something like that, $6 to $8 million, one or the other. But one thing I'm gonna say about Taysom Hill is a team player. Anything you ask Taysom Hill to do, whether it's on the field, contractually, he is down for the team. He is the true definition of a team player. He will do anything for the team. So I got nothing but respect for Taysom Hill. But anyway, the Saints decide to use him, he's going to knock it out the park, because Taysom Hill is a special football player. There's not many players like Taysom Hill. There's a reason why Taysom Hill, who had no business, like, if you think about Taysom Hill's career, he has no business still being in the National Football League, being on the field. He started off coming out of BYU as a quarterback, and Sean Payton seen him while looking at, I want to say, was it Christian McCaffrey brother or something like that, looking at one of the McCaffreys, and then all of a sudden, like, he sees Taysom Hill just pop off the tape, and the next thing you know is history. He's the Swiss Army knife, and now you have a bunch of teams trying to do some of the things that Taysom Hill has done in the Saints uniform. This man has made millions upon millions of dollars, not even throwing the football for the most part in his NFL career, and has been out there. Like, now, you know, he basically created his own lane. And not to mention, he's one heck of a team player. So I can't even get mad at him. Alvin Kamara deserves a contract extension. O.J. Simpson was right about running backs in the NFL. Well, look, it wasn't just O.J. Simpson. It was a lot of running backs that feel like it's a devalued position. You know, it's a lot of people that feel that way. I can remember who was that I was talking to at the combine? I think it was Eric Gray. I think Eric Gray now he plays for the New York Giants. He came out of Oklahoma, and I can remember talking to him about the running back position being a devalued position. And man, he had like such a profound response to it. You know, he just felt like, you know, running backs do so many different things and people just don't give him the credit to do, you know, that they do. But, you know, it definitely is devalued. The safety position is another position I feel like is devalued in the National Football League. Every year is different. You just never know what's going to happen. That's true, Valerie. The cream always rises to the top. In the words of the late, great Macho Man Randy Savage. Cream always rises to the top. No matter how bad a team is, when the season starts again, you have you have just a big of a chance of making the championship than any team that won it or any team that was close last year. All you need is a little bit of luck, some good personnel, and a lot of heart on a football team, and you can get yourself where you need to be. So nobody really knows what's going to happen. We just hope that the New Orleans Saints are a playoff contender when it's all said and done. Do we bring back Jimmy Graham if he doesn't retire? We can use him as a red zone target. Well, Slim, I would say that I wouldn't mind having Jimmy Graham back, but I do think that the Saints didn't utilize him in a certain way last year, and that was one of the main reasons why I did feel like the Saints maybe needed to move on from Pete Carmichael as a coordinator because it's not just so much about calling plays. Sometimes you got to be able to get these guys' egos in check. And I just think that maybe him not being on the field when they knew that he was probably the best option at the time, it just kind of spoke volumes to me. Like nobody was catching passes in the red zone like Jimmy Graham was when he got the opportunity. No Juwan Johnson, no Foster Moreau. I do not care. And sometimes you got to just look at that and say, you know what? I can't look at how much this person is making right now. I can't focus on what this person, I told this person what their number's going to be when it comes to incentives. Look, if you out there balling, you're going to get your money. You're going to get your incentives. But if this person is doing something better than you in a certain situation, put them out there. You have a 6'7", 250-pound tight end out there that's catch virtually anything. All you got to do is just throw it up. He's going to go get it. And you're not utilizing that. So to me, I just feel like that was egregious. That was a slap in the face to the fan base. That was a slap in the face to the team because guys want you to put them in the best position to succeed. And if you've been playing football long enough, you know how to check your ego at the door, or at least you should. So if you know that Jimmy Graham is a better choice for you in the red zone, and I'm a tight end, and I mean, I know these, like, you put the ball up, I ain't catching it. Like, I got to put my ego in check and say, man, put Jimmy out there. So you got to have a coach that's going to put a person's ego in check. Be like, man, you put me in. Nah, not right now. Like, and if they can't understand it, then let them go ride the bench. They'll understand it then. No offense, it's just the Saints. We had really good trends. That they develop quality O-line guys, O-line factory in New Orleans. Yeah, they have. And I think that a lot of the customs that the Saints created is the reason why some of us are so spoiled in our thoughts and our views of the team now. Because when a certain position is struggling, we think about the times when they didn't struggle or the times where they were talented or the times where, you know, they were the best. So all like time brings on a change for better or for worse. And I think that the impatience of the Who Dat Nation sometimes comes from the success of the Who Dat Nation they've had over the past decade. Is Young's neck injury similar to Peyton Manning's? Not in my opinion. You know, they kind of hush him out when it comes to it, but I don't think it's going to affect. I don't think it's going to affect him in that particular way. I don't think it's going to affect him in that particular way at all. I agree on Miller. He's young. he'll get stronger over time, I think. Yeah, I think that he's talented. I think that he came into the league, he already looked the part. He already looked the part. Like, he already looked like he belonged in the league. And I just think that the more reps he gets, the more confidence he'll develop. I think the offense will be good this year. I don't know if it will be a top 10 offense, but maybe top 15. Well, I don't care about it trying to be the Minnesota Vikings when they had Randy Moss and Chris Carter and Robert Smith in them. I don't care if if it's the 2011 Saints. I don't care if it's the greatest show on turf. As long as it's a competitive offense, I am okay with that. Like, I don't need them to be top 10. I don't need them to be top 5, top 3. Like, just don't cost yourself football games because you can't move the football. That'll be a start. Yep, TJ, what do they say? Never fall in love with a player. Here today, gone tomorrow, part of the business. Well, I will say this. You don't fall in love with a player, but also have an acknowledgement for the players when they're going through negotiations and, when they're trying to get their money. Like, to me, I'm not mad at a player because they want to get their money, because I put myself in that position. And I think that sometimes when we're talking about players, we sometimes count those guys' pockets. And I've said this on the last episode. We count guys' pockets and we like, you make blank, blank, blank dollars. And why are you complaining? Because we are comparing them to our everyday life. But this is $1 billion corporation that they're working for. And, these guys deserve their money. One hit can alter this guy's life. I mean, ask Robert Shazier. Like, ask him. Ryan Shazier, excuse me. Ask Ryan Shazier. Ask him. What Johnny Knox from the Chicago Bears. Like, Johnny Knox was getting it. Johnny Knox was the Bears' best wide receiver. One hit. Never seen him again. Like, sometimes we have to understand these guys are just trying to make sure that they set up. You think about T. Higgins. T. Higgins over the weekend, wide receiver for the Cincinnati Bengals, signed his franchise tag. This man wanted more money, wanted contract extension. Cincinnati said no, which is no surprise because Cincinnati is a bunch of skinflints. Always have been. I know y'all remember when Carson Palmer wanted to get paid. All these different things. Like, they just never wanted to pay him. The Brown family never wanted to pay anybody. But anyway, T. Higgins signed his franchise tag, right? Now he goes out there. He get big money up front, right? Because, franchise tag, that means you're going to get all this money in 1 year. But somebody rolled over this man, ankle tears ACL. Even though ACL tear is not a death sentence, but, if something like really seriously happened to this guy, this dude's career over. And now he just got to live off that money that he got off that franchise tag, plus the money that he done made since his rookie season or his rookie deal coming out of Clemson. Like, sometimes we got to just look at these situations, man. I know we get mad when a player wants money and we calling them selfish and all these different things, but think about this. You want your money, right? You want your money. Like, if you perform well, you want your money. If you want more money. And somebody saying, I ain't going to give you no money, not right now. How would that make you feel? You're not going to feel the same way coming to work. So, yeah, you want to understand that it's a business, but at the same time, we got to have respect for the fact that these guys want to get paid. Ain't no different between us wanting to get paid from our job. How do you think Cam Jordan will do this season? To be honest with you, if Cam Jordan can get like four or five sacks, I'll be okay with that, because I'm not looking at Cam Jordan the way I once did, because Cam Jordan is at the twilight of his career. I'm not saying Cam Jordan is washed. I'm not saying Cam Jordan is useless, because he is. He's useful. You definitely need a Cam Jordan on your football team, but just like any pecking order or any circle of life, You have that dog that ran for a long time, right? And then all of a sudden, like that dog started to slow down, and then you have that succession plan. I put it in movie terms. I put it in terms that everybody can understand. At the beginning, when you had like the mob and organized crime, in the black community, there was a man by the name of Bumpy Johnson. And Bumpy Johnson, he was the one that was running Harlem. He was the one that was running New York City, right, in the black community. And then all of a sudden, like, Bumpy Johnson started to slow down. And who came along? Frank Lucas, right? Frank Lucas took over. So it's a changing of the guard. Like that's just the way that it happens. Like, Bumpy Johnson was around for a long time still, but Frank Lucas was learning under him. And then, you know what I'm saying, when Bumpy Johnson got too old to be doing some of the stuff, he put Frank in charge. That's the way that it goes. Like, so I'm looking at Cam Jordan as the bold soldier that's been around for a long time, still can put in that work. But I'm looking at Isaiah Foskey. I'm looking at Chase Young. I'm looking at Brian Brzee. I'm looking at Peyton Turner. I'm looking at these other young guys. If I'm looking at the New Orleans Saints defensive line and they having issues, I'm not looking at where Cam Jordan is. Now, because Cam Jordan has done so much for the New Orleans Saints and has been the leader and still is for this team since, I can say about 2013, 2014, because when he got there, you still had Will Smith and some of those other veterans on the team, like John Velma and them. But at the end of the day, I'm looking at these younger guys to step up. And that's what you should be looking at. I'm not going to the season like, man, I'm looking for Cam Jordan to get. If he does, I'll be happy. But I don't expect Cam to just be sitting up there, like flirting with 20 sacks in the season. I just don't. I do feel like last season he was dealing with a lot of injuries. He was dealing with an injury and he had to get surgery and stuff like that. But when I look at it now, like I think that he'll be more productive, but I'm not expecting Cam Jordan just to be the Cam Jordan he was like 2016, 2017. And I don't mean that disrespectfully either. I'm just saying. I look for the younger guys. I will be hard on those younger guys than I will be on Cam Jordan. Exactly 100. Use Graham until they make them double him, and so opens other options. Yeah, I didn't understand that at all. I didn't understand that at all. What current Saints player is underpaid and which is overpaid? Player that's underpaid for the New Orleans Saints. Looking around, I can't really think of a player that's underpaid by the New Orleans Saints. Like if they're a guy that's productive, they're probably young and on a rookie deal, and a guy that's overpaid. I mean, I can't say there's a guy on the team that's overpaid in my opinion. I'm pretty sure some people probably say Derek Carr, but nah. Even with that, like in the NFL world and what Derek Carr is being paid, he's not even overpaid. So nah, I can't say there's a person on the team that's overpaid, or underpaid, because you got a lot of young talented guys that's making some noise on your team, and you still have them on rookie deals. Paulson Adebo still on the rookie deal. Rashid Shaheed still on the rookie deal. Chris Olave still on a rookie deal. So not too many guys you can sit up here and just say, oh man, they overpaid or underpaid. Do you think we are ready for scrambling quarterbacks? We'll see. But I think you have the athletes now. I mean, I think Willie Gay is a very fast linebacker, sideline to sideline. I think Pete Warner is another one. I think that Demario Davis is a very smart linebacker. I think they got the speed up front with Brian Brzee and Chase Young. And I think they'll be okay. But we'll see, man. We'll see. I dropped off the wide receivers to their team bus Saturday, who caught the first touchdown pass in a UFL championship game. Okay, man, that's pretty cool, man. That's pretty dope. Like, man, You know, that was pretty cool. You know, also the UFL. That's crazy. Like I'm happy for those guys. I know some people like they don't only want to watch NFL, but to to be able to continue to live your dream, whether you're in Canadian football, whether you're in UFL, whether you're in NFL, like it's a dream. And you don't want your dream to end because the NFL said no. And sometimes you need to go out there to other leagues in order for the NFL to say yes. Because sometimes no can just mean not right now. So shouts out to the UFL. I mean, in the Birmingham Stallions, they pitched the shutout against the Brahmas over the weekend, and that game was on Fox. So I would say Derek Carr is overpaid. I'm pretty sure that's probably the only person Saints fans would be talking about. Our offense will look like the 49ers. I hope. I hope they do. Is scrambling quarterback word for black? Nah, I mean, how many scrambling white quarterbacks do they? How many do they have, man? You got to be able to move around in a pocket. You got to be able to move around in a pocket. But yeah, I mean, how many scrambling white quarterbacks do you know besides Taysom Hill? Not many. Gary Jennings Jr., number 5. Rosie said, did y'all see Kirkland with all those fumbles for San Antonio? Yeah, I don't know what was wrong with Javonte Kirkland on that, man. I don't know. And the crazy thing was, man, he was pretty good, like in the XFL. So I don't know what happened, man. I don't know what happened with that, but yeah, man, that was championship game. You get shut out. Has that ever happened? If he's not black, he's mobile. Yeah, exactly. A mobile quarterback. But yeah, I mean, but that's what it is, right? They say scrambling quarterback. I don't really like. I guess what Steve Young. Like, name a scrambling white quarterback other than Steve Young, and I guess you can put Mark Rudell up in there too. Taysom Hill. Who else? I mean, I can't think of I can't think of too many, man. That's out there running the option like they Scott Frost at Nebraska or something. I can't think about that. Like, yeah, Steve Young. Steve Young probably the one. Steve Young probably don't like him, Mark Rudell, Taysom Hill. Like the only scrambling quarterback. Somebody said Roger the Dodger. Nah, I wouldn't put Aaron Rodgers in that conversation. Like I'm talking like Steve Young. We know Steve Young. Steve Young was moving, man. Steve Young used to be moving. Mark Rudell was kind of the same way, man. I used to like watching Mark Rudell play when he was in Jacksonville. Yeah, people be sleeping on Mark Rudell, man. But Mark Rudell, like for like a good 3-4 years, he was like one of the top running backs in football, man. I mean, top quarterbacks in football, or the top quarterbacks in football. Derek Carr is scrambling in his head. Yeah, look, man, I think Derek go bounce back, man. I think he's gonna have a better season than last year. Starback, yeah, Roger Starback. Okay, Roger the Dodger. Yeah, Roger Starback. Yeah, I guess you could put him in there, man. But he was always ready for like him and Drew Pearson. I mean, of course, that's where the Hail Mary come from, right? A lot of people don't realize that the Hail Mary was actually, a desperation play. Roger Staubach throws the ball down the field to the original number 88, Drew Pearson. And after the game, they asked Roger Staubach about that play. And he said, I call it the Hail Mary. He said, because when I threw it, I said a Hail Mary. So that's where it came from. But yeah, it came from the Dallas Cowboys play on Roger Staubach to Drew Pearson, for those that may not know. Joe Theismann before Lawrence Taylor. Yeah, with the one bar in his helmet. He used to have that kicker helmet. I never understood that. Like, I never how did Joe Theismann play with one bar in his helmet? Like, you normally would see that from a kicker. Kirkland was second in the UFL in receiving yards. Yeah, like I said, he was talented. Drew pushed off. I'm pretty sure he did. I'm pretty sure he did, man. There's a lot of legendary plays that I don't think would have made would have got overturned. Like, for example, the immaculate reception. I feel like that probably Franco Harris. There's only one view of that, right? And it's always like him picking the ball up, but you can't really you don't see the turf. And then there's the other one about the holy roller with the Raiders, right? When they rolling the ball forward and Casper, the tight end, ends up getting his hand on the ball for the touchdown. Like a lot of these plays like that go on in history, I don't think probably would be here today. Also bad was the play with the Houston Oilers. And they ended up like overturning it, and the Houston Oilers had opportunity to go to the Super Bowl. I think they would have beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like, it's so many different plays in history that could have that should have got overturned. Of course, we already know the NFC Championship game with the Saints. I mean, a lot of plays like would have got overturned, or we would have been looking at them differently. The tuck rule was a fumble. Yep, that's one. Joe Burrow, when he need to, he can scramble. But I wouldn't call him a scrambling quarterback. Like, to me, a scrambling quarterback is almost like, well, yeah, I guess that would be considered a scrambling quarterback. But I think when people would talk about Rico, when they think about scrambling quarterbacks, they think about quarterbacks that running plays are like kind of implemented into what they're doing in that case. But crazy thing about it was Steve Young, they didn't really have too many option plays, and he kind of made some desperation plays. But I wouldn't call Joe Burrow a scrambling quarterback. He has the ability to run when necessary, which all quarterbacks, you think about, all of them can. Even Drew Brees, who was in the pocket, Tom Brady, they'll run out the pocket, if it's a 3rd and 2 or a 2nd and 2 or something, but they ain't about to lower that shoulder and they're like that, like Steve Young used to do. Steve Young used to get helicoptered. John Elway used to get helicoptered. Those guys used to take them hits, man. Let's see, scrambling quarterback Lamar and Jalen Hurts. Yeah, or Deshaun Watson or something. When are the Saints going to get with the times? I honestly doubt a black quarterback will ever be accepted in New Orleans, regardless of his style. I don't agree with that, man. I don't agree, Jude, because the Saints have had black quarterbacks. They've had Aaron Brooks. They've had Jeff Blake. They've had Teddy Bridgewater. They've had Jameis Winston. So I can't, I can't say that they won't get a black quarterback. I don't think that. Now, the question is, will the patience be the same, in Louisiana, with a black quarterback? I think that in some cases a tiger never changes stripes in some people, but I think in today's society they can. I don't think that's an issue. I don't think that that'll be an issue. I think that the Saints have had some black quarterbacks in the past, so I don't think that would be an issue for them. Hey, TJ, is the NFL the new WWE? I hope not. And if we ever find out, that'll be the end of football. Jeff Garcia, yeah, Jeff Garcia was too. Jeff Garcia was a scrambling quarterback. Yeah, if we ever find out that the NFL is fixed, that's the end of football. Football will never be the same. I cried when John Elway finally won his Super Bowl. Yeah, I think John Elway, that little stretch he went on towards the end of his career, yeah, it was pretty great. I mean, but he was led by that running game. I mean, Terrell Davis was toting that rock. Spencer Rattler can low-key be considered a scrambler, just not super fast. Yeah, he can get out the pocket when he need to. He's a lot faster than people think he is. Jules, that's why I think Rattler is all but gone from this team as long as Allen is here. Well, I don't know, man. Like, I just feel like I don't think when it comes down to it, I don't think that they really care. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just about somebody. It's about winning, man. Like people just want to win. You know what I'm saying? Like at the end of the day, and I don't think that it has anything to do with skin color. I don't. I don't think that it has. I don't think that the reason why Jameis Winston was, benched was because Dennis Allen said he was black. I don't. I just feel like Dennis Allen understands that he has to get the fan base on his side. He has to get the organization on his side. And he feels like, and it's fair. Like, think about this. Let's take it to the old 1700s when we used to handle situations by challenging you, taking off our glove to a duel, slap y'all in the face, right, with the glove, right? And you know how duels work. You got this revolver, because everybody had one, I guess, because, never know when you're going to get challenged to a duel. You got this revolver, right? You like this revolver. Like the revolver help you out in many duels in the past. Then all of a sudden, old John Pierre challenged you to a duel, and, they tell you, you can't use your rifle that you have right here. Now, you can't have yours. We got a special rifle for you. You never use this rifle. You don't know how it handles. It don't feel right in your hand. You ain't trying to go to no gunfight with a rifle that you ain't never used, right? You know what I'm saying? Or a revolver that you never used. You're just not. So to me, I just feel like he rather feel like, okay, if I'm going to get fired, if I'm going to lose my job, I'd rather lose my job to a person, to a person that, that I'm going to go down with the ship. Like if he loses his job now, hold on one second. All right, folks, I apologize. I'm about to go ahead and end the show. Something came up, but thank you all so much for checking out the State of the Saints podcast. I'll make sure that I answer some of your questions later. I'll probably go back and take a look at some of your questions and probably, make a little recorded show for you all. But thank you all so much. Previous episodes available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor FM. And follow me at TJAY Jones 8. Till next time, all I got to say is, who dat?
Thank you for listening to my daddy's podcast.
Hey, don't let these tears fool you. There's all dog around this mug. I'm good.